Hey guys, welcome back to 𝚭𝚭 Business Services Live. I am so hyped, Jose. Welcome.
Thank you. I am
John,
glad to be here.
welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we are so excited. It's been a year. We took a big break, but we are back. And a little quick blurb before we get started. 𝚭𝚭 Business Services is an expert at incorporating companies, LLCs and corporations. We file all of the legal paperwork for you to get your company up and running. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding starting a business. And today's show is brought to you by 𝚭𝚭 Real Estate Services. If you need a knowledgeable realtor by your side, give them a call at 302-313-1600. And let's get started. So our guest today is awesome John Mollura. How are you this morning?
Good.
Am I saying that right?
Well, you're saying it right, with the Hispanic language.
Mollura.
It's Mollura. It's
Mollura.
Sicilian. It's Sicilian.
Mollura.
So my wife's a Spanish teacher.
Okay.
Oh,
So
you're
it's
used to
𝚑𝚑𝚘𝚗.
the-
So she's used to Senora Mayor. Yeah, right. As students always say, did you marry your husband because it sounds cool with Senora?
Yeah.
And she says some days, yeah.
That's perfect, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're welcoming him to our show this morning, and he has actually worked with globally recognized clients such as country music star Jimmy Allen.
Local boy.
Yes, Fortune 500 companies such as Procter & Gamble, as well as hundreds of other individuals. Very impressive. How are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome.
So, before we even get started, I just talk to me about the great big liar. What's up with that, man?
We just leapfrogged the photography. That wasn't even in Franny's lead. We just kind of
caught up our
came right in, man.
I'm just blown away, man.
Yeah.
I saw on social media, and I'm like, what the? I know you for that photographer. You've done great work. We've worked together before, and now I'm like, bam.
keeping it fresh.
I'm thinking I'm at the Village in New York City when I saw that photo.
Oh yeah. So the Great Big Liars are. You ever seen the movie Old School with Will Ferrell?
Uh-huh.
Like
Love
the
that
guys
movie.
in the middle age, in their
Yeah.
middle age,
That's right.
decide to start a fraternity.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like that, but we decided to start like a hard rock band. So we write all our own music. We're based out of Milford. We play all over. Breweries, festivals, things like that, and it's all our own original stuff. So it's really cool to have another
That's what's
creative
up,
outlet.
brother, man.
Yeah,
Congrats,
yeah,
man.
thanks. So it's
What's
fun.
up, man. I'm
It is
hype
fun.
about
Yeah,
that.
I gotta put my
man.
contacts in though.
That's
'Cause, head banging too much. All my glasses
That's
go
what's
flying.
up, man.
Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome. That's great to hear. There's always some new and amazing stuff with you. I see you
Yeah.
and follow you on Facebook as well, and just some of the work that you've done is amazing.
Oh,
So
thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. So let's jump right in.
Let's jump
Yeah.
right in.
So first question we have is, what led you to become an entrepreneur?
I never thought I'd have my own business ever. That was never on my radar. So real quick, my background is I graduated from Penn State with a mechanical engineering degree. Somehow fumbled my way into working in the space program, and did that for a decade and a half. And it was a great ride, but during the course of it, the direction of the company that I had been working for really changed, and I'd gone through a lot of personal growth at the time on the back end, and it just really wasn't satisfying my soul anymore. And I know a lot of people think that's like a dream job, like working for NASA and getting sent all over the world working on cool stuff, and it was, and the people were so great that I worked with, but there was just something that wasn't satisfying me inside. And my wife is actually the one who really encouraged me to follow my dream of becoming a professional photographer, and put some stuff in an art league, and it sold. And I thought, wow, and people wanted to keep paying me, which I thought was great, which is a big part of business.
That's helpful.
Yeah, so it was a side hustle for a number of years while my engineering career, I didn't know it at the time, was winding down. So I went through all the things, like you just said, like where were you, by the way, in 2015 when I need to start an LLC, and I didn't understand anything. So that's got to be a tremendously valuable service that you're offering to folks. Because I remember when I started over 7 years ago, it's just daunting.
Yeah.
And it almost gives you that paralysis by analysis where you don't even want to get started.
Yeah.
So I started doing it as a side hustle, and then I just became more and more unhappy working in the corporate world, and I changed to a different engineering career, and it just wasn't satisfying me. And my wife said, just do it, dude. Like, you're miserable. Your skin has like the color of like a wet ashtray. Like, you're not looking real healthy, John. And I decided it wasn't setting a good example for my kids to, be making this 6-figure salary, but really not just really detesting every moment I was at work, because then that transfers through, and I didn't want to set that example. So actually yesterday, we're doing this in April. So April 7th was the 5-year anniversary of when I walked out the door of corporate America. Yeah. So 5 years in a day, I've been
Congrats,
in the
brother. Congrats.
full-time wild world of entrepreneurship.
It seems like a long time, 5 years, but it probably went super fast for you.
Yeah. I can remember it like it was, last week walking out and thinking, oh boy,
Here we go.
we're jumping out of the plane, and I'm packing the parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
As you mentioned that, it makes me think of the book by Darren Hardy, the entrepreneurship roller coaster. Has it been a roller coaster?
Oh, dude, it's been a roller coaster, log flume, the sky drop. It's been all of those kind of thrown in. Sometimes the roller coaster goes backwards,
That's
but
That's right.
But yeah, absolutely. It's never been a straight thing. And you always want to have some kind of a target out there, but usually you end up veering off one way or the other.
Entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah, just being agile and being able to adapt is the name of the game.
That's the big thing, is being able to adapt, because like you said, you might have an end goal, but how you get there can vary in different ways. So,
ways you would never even imagine.
That's right. I have a question for you. Were there any resources that helped you along the way?
One of the biggest resources that helped me is enlisting people that have been down that road before. Even before I left and started doing entrepreneurship full time, even when I was kind of just formulating those thoughts, hiring coaches and mentors, being part of cohorts or people that do business coaching was so invaluable. Not only because they've been on that road before and can help you get where you're going, but they can also challenge you on things, which is so important. And that's one of the big things of being a successful entrepreneur. And I think a reason why a lot of people maybe drop out is they either don't get feedback, request it from people, because it's not always good feedback, but there's always knowledge, there's always something you can learn in there. So getting that feedback from coaches, mentors, and then as you start working with clients is so imperative to being successful.
Awesome. Yeah, we get that a lot with many entrepreneurs, is hooking up with like-minded individuals that have been there, like you said, that are on the same track or are already there where you want to get, that can kind of guide you. And like you said, criticism is not easy.
No.
Getting criticized by someone else, you have to be able to be willing to learn.
That's
obviously.
right. Yeah. And then question regarding, you mentioned mentorship, right? Having those individuals. Did you already have those individuals in your life, or you went out and introduced yourself and asked for mentorship?
It started with people that were currently in my life in that phase. As I've become bolder and developed that, the thick skin that you really need, which I didn't have when I started by any means. Developing that thick skin enabled me to be bold and go after people where I have been following their work for years, not only from an artistic point of view, but the business sense that they had. And I reached out to a photographer in Pittsburgh named 𝚏𝚒𝚘𝚗𝚘, because I loved her artwork. But then following what she did on the business side, I was like, wow, this person really knows she knows a lot of stuff I don't. So I sent her a message and said, hey, do you accept mentor or mentees? Do you do coaching? And she said, yeah, and sent me the price tag, and I went, oh my God. And I probably just pegged your mic. Sorry.
That's all right.
But it was such a hard thing to do, to cough up that money at the outset. But I think it wasn't even the next client I got. The things she taught me, like I think it paid for itself like 5 times over.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like that.
And you know what's so crazy? Always do.
Yeah.
You always do.
Yeah.
You
Well,
just
unless
have
you
to
make
be-
a bad decision,
That's
which
right.
I've done a few things that people, the snake oil type sales, and it's increase your reach and all that.
Yeah.
So you do have to be careful.
And that's what I'm saying. You always do, because you still got something out of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just got to swim. Entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You just got to figure things out. Awesome.
And this will lead into the next question. With this being such a roller coaster, what do you think is the most common reason that people fail or give up? I know you mentioned that, in your answering your last question, some of the points that may cause you to kind of stop or fail or feel like you can't go any further. What is the biggest thing you feel affects most entrepreneurs?
Income is certainly a big deal. You know, not have money. You know, money's not everything, but when you don't have any coming in, that can be pretty terrifying. And if you don't have maybe some safety nets or some things in place to kind of fall back on, whether that be personal savings or a spouse or a partner that is willing to kind of help you,
Support you,
get through here, not only financially but emotionally.
Yeah.
Like my family and my friends have been so supportive. Of just emotionally, and then on the roller coaster. And kudos to them, because none of them, you know, when I started, were entrepreneurs.
Yeah. It's great that you point out the emotional part of it, because it is. I've cried.
Oh, yeah.
I've been super happy. I've rejoiced with, you know, some of my successes, but then when I've had those really big failures, I just felt completely defeated, and I don't think people expect that. And with all the entrepreneurs that we have talked to, they've all said that first year is brutal. Do you feel like that first year for you was like?
The first year, I don't know if the first year was as probably brutal as maybe the second or third year, because the first year I was just so elated that I did it.
Yeah.
And that carried me through a lot, and also our savings account, which was a much higher balance that first year. But man, once I started getting to that like year, like 2, 3, when it was like, oh,
You see, that's what's up.
oh boy,
Yeah.
this is real. And that's when it became, you know, it was what come to Jesus moments, where it's like, all right, what are we gonna do? Am I gonna get a part-time job at the hardware store? Or are we going to trim the fat? So we decided to go with the latter, and it was, you know, I wasn't booked out so much that I couldn't get the kids off the bus. So instead of paying the daycare, which we loved, you know, now I became, you know, dad's shuttle service. You know, getting the kids at school, getting them off the bus, fixing them a snack, and it really, you know, it's with everything in life. You can look at it one way or the other. I could be very begrudging, like, I'm not making enough money, I got to get these kids off the bus. Or the way I chose to look at it, because someone very wise once told me, they said, you know, my dad was an entrepreneur, and I realized when I grew up that my dad got to hear everything. He got the scoop from school, like even through like the middle school and those high school years, because the dad was home. And he was, you know, making a snack or, you know, folding laundry or something, and he got the scoop. Whereas if my kids were still going to daycare and like, you know, we wouldn't pick them up till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, you know, they've already forgotten what happened at school and, you know, who pulled the fire alarm and that kind of stuff. Whereas now I kind of get to be in on the ground floor, and then can bring my wife in too when she gets home and tell her. So it's a lot of adapting and a lot of figuring things out. But it's really worth it when you look at the big picture of things.
Man, I'm filled right now, because as I listen to you, the biggest thing that I've heard is like the importance of your spouse, partner.
Right.
Before we even jump off that cliff, making sure that there's at least an understanding and an agreement
Right.
of what we are about to embark.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
That's so critical. And it's the common thread with everybody that we have talked to who is still smiling.
Yeah.
Right? That we've asked the same question. Then another thing you talked about, how it's unique, because we've heard it from the other side when you said, well, my first year was fine financially. It's that second or third year, you know, that you decided that, okay, we're going to make. So most times we'll hear people say, man, that first year was tough, you know, because they started with no money. Now you're saying, yeah, we started with this, but we learned it was good, possibly easier, but that second or third year was really rock and roll.
Yeah.
When that money starts to dwindle and you're kind of like, okay, am I bringing in enough to replace what we're using? And is this going to be sustainable in the long run? I think that's where you kind of evaluate your situation again. So yeah, that makes total sense. But Jose's right. We've had a common response to the first year, but that was unique.
Yeah, because I was coming from a very high paying job that I had been working in. And I'm on track to start being back at that level, but yeah, it takes
Kind of hard
takes
yeah.
a while,
Absolutely.
especially going from that and then like cutting off. But we had prepared for it.
Yeah.
So, question for you: what's that unique skill, superpower that has helped you build your business?
Being able to develop a rapport very quickly with people has been paramount, and that's actually how I get a lot of the photographs that I do. Because I'm a portrait photographer, families, individuals, is being able to establish that rapport to have them feel at ease.
Yeah.
Because unless you're a model and you're used to being in front of the camera all the time, it's daunting, and there's a lot that goes into that, and it's one of those skills that I had developed during my time as an engineer, which is probably funny. It's like, engineer developing people skills.
Yeah, that's
what?
yeah.
But I worked in a pretty unique application of engineering. Our teams were the ones that they would send all over the planet, from Antarctica to England, and they would drop us off at some base and say, all right, we need to get this test off in a week.
Wow, that's so deep, man.
So you can imagine the amount of red tape that there is in all these places. So I became very adept at, getting in good with whomever I needed to get whatever we were working on to wherever it needed to go and circumvent all that red tape. Yeah. So that was just something that I developed naturally over the years, and then that's been something that has just really helped, whether it's networking or with my actual clients. Interviews like this, it's those soft skills are what really help.
Yeah. And those are such key because, you can apply it to any type of business, not just, look at you, you went from, NASA to, with the photography and with anything that you choose to do in the future, even with, your band.
Right.
It's all going to come to building rapport and making it easier so you can, we call it the gift of gab.
That's right. and I'll say this, I can attest to your people skills, right? Because we did an event, Mother's Day event. That was right before COVID. When was that? Like 3 years ago. And I saw you. We brought families. So by the way, man, I just got to give a shout out. This brother, if you guys want to hire him, we brought him in and we invited a bunch of families of our clients at Linda Vista Real Estate to come in on Mother's Day to get their portraits done. And you took care of everything. You was dealing with the children. I saw you, man. You had a toy in one hand and a camera in another, man. And then afterwards, sitting down with them and allowing them to choose that was a lot. That was a full day, man. Yeah. And I saw how you went in and out with the father, the mother, the children. That was impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, right. We got to do it again, man.
We should, yeah.
And now, but let's do it. It's done.
All right. You heard it here first. I've worked enough with Jose. I know it's a done deal. As soon as I heard him say it, I'm like, the ask is coming.
That's right. Let's do it. Awesome.
I can honestly say those portraits, along with some of the other ones that you've done, have just been so real.
Yeah.
You get photographers and they make you look completely different sometimes.
Yes.
But the portraits that I have seen, they just look real. Like those are. That's who they are,
right.
So I have to just compliment you on that because I love those portraits.
Thank you. And that's one of the things I really like doing about portraits is I'm not trying to downplay it, but I'm like, really at the end of the day, like, I'm setting the lights up and I know how to set the camera, but at the end of the day, I'm just pushing a button and it's showing what's truly inside of a person. Yeah. There have been photo shoots I've done where I was doing a photo shoot of one gal, and she was gorgeous, but it was the first time, like, really in front of the camera, and she wanted to get into modeling, and she was an adult, but it's something she always wanted to do. I'm like, well, cool, let's just do it. I was taking photos, and she was so nervous and hesitant at the beginning, but once we kind of got into it and got rolling, we started having a lot of fun. I took this one picture, and she kind of peeked around the light stand because the pictures as I'm taking them pop up on my computer, so I can make sure everything's set up right. And she went, I went, "You all right?" And she goes, "Oh my God, you made me look pretty."
Aww.
I said, "All right, we're gonna stop right there. Like, that's you. That's what I'm seeing right now, and that's what the whole world sees."
Yeah.
That's right.
So on those like days where like maybe you're not feeling like you're worthy or enough or you're pretty or the body shape you want to be, pull these pictures out and be like, oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
I got this. So I love hearing those stories. When
That's what's up, bro.
That's why I've really steered my business towards providing not just digital copies of stuff, because things just go in like a digital graveyard now. So now I incorporate like heirloom quality, like wall art albums for people, so they have something like tangible to actually hold of themselves or their loved ones.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love it. Next question. What is the best and worst advice that anyone has ever given you?
I'll start with the the worst advice. And I don't know if it was so much advice as a a statement. Whenever I started saying that I wanted to become a photographer full time, people would say, and they said it from a place of love, but it really gave me a pause, where people would say, well, you have a family though. You have kids. How you need to provide for them.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, so and it was, it was people like I really respected, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
But if nothing else, that served as like a fuel and a fire. On those days where like I don't like making cold calls. Or like even like calling, like if it's a lukewarm call.
Yeah.
Like that's just not my idea of a good time. But being like, okay, well, my family is depending on me for this, and a lot of times that will help me. And I just learned a phrase. I think I was listening to a podcast by 𝚑𝚒𝚗𝚘, and his guest said, "Don't tell yourself you have to be brave today. Don't tell yourself you have to be brave if you have something, staring you down that you're not looking for, because that's really tough to be brave for a day." Like, he said, just remind yourself, I got to be brave for like 10 seconds. I got to be brave for dialing that number, saying, hello, can I speak to, Bob McGillicuddy?
Yeah.
And then saying, hey, Bob, I'm John Mollura, and then just let it roll.
Yeah.
10 seconds of your day to be brave.
Yeah.
Instead of, I got to be brave today. I got a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
Just break it up into manageable chunks.
I like that. That's a good point. It's kind of like when we say, eat the frog. Like you do the hard part first and quickly, and just and like you said, once you're in there, you kind of start learning how to swim.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Awesome.
As you talk about, you made when she asked you the question, you said that the thing that stung the most was people saying, you got a family to take care of, right? And one of the things that I know for a fact is that most of them comments, like you said, comes from people you respect, love, admire, and also what we got to remind ourselves that it also comes from a place of fear,
right?
So, but at the moment, it becomes your fear. Right. Because it's always been there, and now they validated that fear. So we just got to remember that's fear. And one of the things that we've been saying a lot here is that our goals, our desires are behind that door called fear. So it has to be faced. I appreciate you, but most time that comes from a place of fear, of their own, like, oh my God, I can't believe he's doing this.
Right, and what would catch me off guard is people that had taken the leap maybe 30 years before, like I was getting ready to, were the ones telling me, and they might have some experience.
That goes back to another quote that I just read. It's talking about how when you're about to build, the best thing you should do is go link up with individuals who just started building. Instead of going to somebody that did it a long time ago and now is just resting based on the work that they did, because sometimes we forget. We get comfortable.
Right.
So go seek out some individuals also who are in the grind just like you, so you guys can commiserate together, and have those discussions to keep you pushing forward in similar experiences, you know?
Yep, having those cohorts of people in the same, arena, or at least maybe even in the same stage of building something. It doesn't necessarily have to be, just other photographers for me or other realtors for you, like just other people that are
hungry.
Yeah, hungry and, at the same level of muck, in the trenches that you are.
Yes, that you can connect. What about the best advice?
Some of the best advice I got was, and this actually goes back to my engineering career. My mentor, his name was Skip, and he'd always say, one good test is worth 1,000 opinions. Meaning that people can give you their opinions and what they think's going to happen, what they think it is, what will happen, what will be, what was.
Yeah.
But those are just opinions.
Yeah.
If you actually go out and do the work and put get that rubber meet in the road, they might be right or they might be totally wrong, but you're not truly going to know until you go out there and do that test, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's right.
I like that.
I love it. That's right.
Yeah.
I do have a question for you. What is a quote or saying that you live by?
It's a verse from a song by a British band, the Struts, and they're actually going to be in Dewey. It'll be like the umpteenth time I've seen them, so I can't wait for them to make their triumphant return in May at the Bottle and Cork. But they have a song called "Could Have Been Me," and it just says, "I never want to look back and say it could have been me."
Wow,
Yeah.
I love it.
And that was something that was in my mind. I didn't know about that song yet while I was getting ready to make the leap, a little over 5 years ago to full-time entrepreneurship. But once I found it, it really became an anthem for me. So even like with the band I'm in, like I don't want to look back when I'm, on some rocking chair somewhere, hopefully in my 80s, and say, what, I think I could have been a photographer. I think I could have made it. Or what, I think I really would have been a good entertainer with a guitar strapped to me. Now I know. I did that test like my mentor Skip told me all those years, and here we are.
Man, I'm listening to you. I just want to stand up and flip the shit. Like, no, man, we can't, man. Go get what's yours.
Right.
I can't, man. I can't. Life too short, man.
Yeah, it is.
Man, it seriously is short, man. And every waking moment, we have to be chasing it, wherever that is.
Well, that's another good point. I think a lot of people maybe have that misunderstanding with entrepreneurs is, chasing it every moment. And I really had to come to terms with this. Not every day is going to be an on day.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I mean, you do have to show up and maybe not do what you want to do every day. But, you've seen the folks on like social media that are like, you got to grind 24/7. There's 168 hours in the week, and you better be grinding for like 166 of those. The other ones, you better be waking up at 4 a.m. doing burpees. Whoa, brother, hang on. Pump the brakes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
Absolutely.
giving yourself grace, and that's what one of the big things that's really tough walking that tightrope, especially without a safety net like us, is being able to be like, I really got to dial this back. I need to maybe center myself, and I'm not saying go for a vacation on a week and don't do anything, but just even like hitting the brakes and even if it's like half a day.
Yeah.
And that's been very hard for me to find that balance. And
That's what's up.
it's taken quite a few points of burnout and like just like waking up and feeling like I'm jet lagged and like nauseous and like I have no energy, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I've been taking a day off in 37 days.
Yeah.
Man.
And
We
it's-
can both very much relate to that.
I know. I'm speaking to you too. Because it doesn't. You don't end up serving the people that you're there to serve.
That's the biggest
It's such
biggest
the
point
irony,
of all.
yeah.
Yes, you're cutting them short from what your potential really truly is. Because you're not at your 100%, and we've both experienced
Yeah,
that. in
I think
this.
everyone has. Yeah, because we
Everyone
want to do good.
And this is what I have found along my journey. Yes, there's been no moments of burnout. And I came to this point probably over the past 3 years that I have to be the spirit of an entrepreneur has to be in every area of my life. That's what now will prevent me from burning out. What do I mean by that? My family, the things that I really, in every area, even as a father, there's just not one way. Push them boundaries, Jose.
Right.
For yourself. When are you taking time for yourself? Not just sitting and watching some TV or reading. Push them boundaries. What else you want to do? What are you fearful of doing on your time off? What are you fearful of doing with your spouse? What are you fearful of doing with your children? Anything, working out, all those. Push those boundaries, and that has helped me. To be like, okay, now I'm consistently smiling because in every area of my life, I'm not complete. I'm still building.
Yeah.
And acknowledging that.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. So, John, man, thank you for being with us today, brother. I just want to point out a few things. You know, I scribbled all over the place as I listened to you talk. You know, you talked about mentorship. You talked about, for me, the most powerful point that you mentioned and talked about was the spouse partner. The spouse partner. I would not be here without that support. It's impossible.
Yeah, I can't imagine making it through those days like we were saying, you know, where you cry. And man, I've literally been balled up on the floor of my office crying.
I could
Yeah,
imagine.
just
It's
saw,
tough.
yeah, like ugly cry, you know, the snot bubbles and all that. You know,
That's
cried in my
right.
car, I've cried on the floor, I've cried in my studio, you know. But I can't imagine being able to keep going without having my wife and even my kids at this point on board with the adventure and embracing it like an adventure that it is.
Absolutely.
You know, and before I pass it on to you, Franny, what you've done, what this whole show has done for me today is also this weekend I'm dusting off Darren Hardy's book, you know, the Entrepreneurship Roller Coaster, because you just you know, ignited that fire, you know, brighter, you know, because it's been a phenomenal ride. Yeah. Once you get into that year 3, 4, you know, it feels good. You know?
Yeah. I mean, you understand.
That's right.
I haven't had any business come in for 10 days.
That's
you know,
right.
it's going to
Yes.
turn around.
Yes.
I've said those first
Yes.
few years again, not having that
right.
data backing you up, going, oh god,
that's right.
That hasn't worked.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
This has been an amazing first show back. Thank you again for joining us. I think my takeaways, John, would have to be the biggest one, that because I love music too, I'm a big music fan. It could have been me. I love that you use music. I find music as a big motivator to me.
Absolutely.
Gets me hype, you know, or if I'm sad, it kind of lifts me up. So that you've used that to kind of keep it in your mind that you don't want to be 80 sitting in your rocking chair going, man, I should have, you know, pursued photography. I should have pursued that band I wanted to put together. That's always a big thing. And for all of you entrepreneurs out there, you don't want to have that could have been me.
Yeah,
you know,
sitting
back, you know. And then the other thing is, like you said, about one good test is worth 1,000 opinions. You're going to get tons of opinions from even loved ones, people in the same business as you. You got to take it with a grain of salt and put it to the test yourself. You know, get out there and do what you got to do. You won't know whether you're going to fall flat on your face or not until you actually jump. You know?
Right, and chances are you're not going to fall on your face. Exactly. It might not look like you thought it was going to look, but there's going to be some lessons in there, and you're probably going to end up somewhere even better than you thought you might.
Absolutely. So with that said, thank you once again. It's been a pleasure, and we hope that you join us next time for our next fabulous guest. Thank you for joining us this week.
Peace.
Thanks for having me.